Yeah, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. So my first question is for Attorney General Rayfield about Oregon. So I was wondering why the Attorney General decided to file this lawsuit in the Oregon court in Eugene, and whether you feel that will give you a more favorable ruling, and also whether you feel like you would get a more favorable ruling if you would if it gets appealed to the Ninth Circuit.
And thank you for the question. I think the reality is when we're making decisions where and whether to file, a lot of that is based upon the different attorneys general and the staffing in our offices and the way that we look at the different circuits. We look at on important issues, how quickly can we get a ruling? So a lot of various different factors. Sometimes different courts have different sets of experiences that might lend itself to a certain type of case under a given lawsuit that may be filed. And so that's kind of the consideration that went on in this, just like many, many other cases that we file.
Thanks. Okay, and then also just let you guys know, I'm with the Center Square National website. And then my question for all four of you is, how much money do you feel the Bureau has helped to regain for consumers in your various states?
And maybe I'll just jump in really quick just to break the ice. This is a very timid group. What I will tell you is among all the Democratic attorneys general, the interesting thing is the least person to be timid is AG Platkin. He's actually, his nickname among all the AGs is Mighty Platkin. So just kind of know that as a background. So sorry for the delay in the response. Here in Oregon, there are monetary value that like gets moved back to our consumers, but then there's also just the impact of prevention as well as on the other side of that, accountability. So we've really looked at the broader number societally, and you heard a little bit where we talked about the partnership that we've had with CFPB on different cases. The big number nationally is about a little bit more than $20 billion that has come back to consumers. Pretty huge, and depending on each state, obviously, it's going to vary.
Well, after that kind of intro, I have to jump in. Look, it's both the dollars that we brought back, as Attorney General Rayfield mentioned, and that we've partnered with the CFPB to fight against powerful interests that were harming our residents. It's also the CFPB has jurisdiction over a lot of the institutions, like the ones that caused the financial crisis in 2008 and have prevented harm. Their regulatory powers have done things that sometimes states don't have jurisdiction to do and have prevented harms against our residents. I mentioned a few of them, and as have others: junk medical or excessive medical debt, junk credit card fees, mortgage servicing. These are things that we work on in our states, and the CFPB has prevented at the federal level from them taking actions that cause you to pay more for far shoddier or worse financial products, which affect your bottom line every single day. So the dollars we brought back are significant, but the costs that are going to be incurred going forward are going to dwarf that number if there's not a watchdog like the CFPB in place. And you just have to look at the catastrophe that unfolded in 2008 because we didn't have a watchdog, because we took deregulatory efforts like the one that the president is taking here today in a legal action that caused the single worst financial crisis, recession, millions and millions of Americans losing their home in over 70 years. That's the type of impact that I'm concerned about when you take an agency like this out of the equation.